Hey guys, Scott and Vanessa Martindale here with Blended Kingdom Families. At BKF, we believe now is the time to change the modern day interpretation of the blended family.
Absolutely, you guys. As a blended family ourselves, God laid it on our hearts to build a ministry that helps support blended families by equipping your marriage, uniting the family unit, and igniting your faith. Our mission is that you would be touched by God and experience His goodness through this ministry, that your family would have practical skills, resources, and tools to help you live that abundant blended life.
Hey guys, welcome to the BKF podcast. We are so excited to be coming to you from our brand new studio. It is amazing. We love it, and we hope that you are going to enjoy this episode. We have some amazing guests with us, Joe and Mandi Marco. Great to be here.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, we're glad to be here. Thank you for bringing us on.
Absolutely. Well, you guys, I just want to tell you a little bit about Joe and Mandi. They have been married 7 years. Together, they have 3 kiddos, beautiful kiddos, they're actually backstage right now.
Yeah.
And they participated in the Blended Kingdom Project, and that's how we came to know them, know their story, and we just love them so much that we wanted to bring them on today and just have them share with you just some encouragement and a little bit about their blended family. Just a little bit about Mandi. She's a working mama, a born-again Christian, and works in HR. And Joe is a retired veteran and full-time dad, and we're just so honored and blessed to have y'all with us here today. So welcome.
And if you're wondering what the project is, guys, Vanessa and I, about a year ago, started a journey where we wanted to interview 100 blended families. And it's been an amazing experience. We've talked to blended families all over the world.
Yeah.
South Africa, the UK, Canada, all over the United States, Australia. And it's been phenomenal to hear the stories, but what we're doing with the project information is moving forward with our book writing season and gathering some more updated stats on there. So we love that time. We love getting to know you and your story. It is powerful. It impacts people. So we're excited for you to share more about you and more about how you guys have gotten to where you are today.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. All right, you guys. Well, first, just tell us a little bit about you, your family, anything fun you guys like to do, anything you'd want our audience to know.
Yeah. You're the funner one. You tell me the things to do that's
Am
fun.
I? I don't think I am. No, so our 3 kids, we like to just hang out. We have a lot of sports going on right now.
Yeah.
Let's do.
Yes.
We like to go camping when we can, when the weather's right. And
Yeah, not last week.
or this week.
Yeah.
Right?
But yeah, we really do hang out as a family a lot, and
That's good.
just
And how old are the kiddos?
10, 8, 5.
Yes.
Fun, and more fun.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, share a little bit more about your journey to becoming a blended family and what is unique about your blended family.
Sure. So we became a blended family really early on. I had Mason kind of by myself in my early 20s, and not even a full year later, Joe and I started kind of hanging out, dating, that kind of thing. And so Mason never really knew anything different. You know what I mean? There wasn't a divorce that he remembered or anything like that. So we started really early on when Mason was young, and he just always knew Joe as Joe, you know what I mean? And when he talks to the other kids, I feel like there was this little time period where when Kinsley and Nolan, the younger 2, could start to talk, they would be like, Joe, can you come help me? And we'd be like, Dad. And so Mason he's kind of transitioned into calling him Dad when he's talking to, but that was kind of a fun little era, I guess, where they were like, Joe. But it didn't feel like blending a family, you know what I mean? The transition for that seemed to be really easy, and you might have had a little bit different experience dating somebody that had a child versus not, but it was easy for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know that journey to becoming a stepdad. Joe, you and I stepped into that role almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit nerve-wracking.
Yes.
And I know there are a lot of people out there that are in that dating, about to be married and becoming a stepdad. How was the process for you?
It was weird. I didn't have any kids coming in, so it was you're a dad instantly, basically. So it's a little hard to like transition, but it's well worth it. And I feel like he is my son, so because he's been there the whole time, so it's been great. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, our stories are a lot alike and kind of a little flip-flopped, but my son and my ex-husband and his wife, when they married, Michael was really, really young. And so from all he knows, his stepmom, you know, it's funny because he asked us when he was little, was she there when I was born? And I was like, well, it didn't exactly work out that way, you know. But, you know, also, I remember, Scott, when you were, you know, stepping in as a stepdad, too, and just having those conversations of, you know, what's it like to become an instant dad, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I drove the same way. No kids, and so didn't have a clue what I was doing. I'm lucky there was a lot of grace,
Yes.
and obviously as a stepdad, you learn that you'll make mistakes, but apologize, move forward, try to set your ego and pride to the side, because it is different, and it does become different. And then when you start having your own children and your biological children, then it becomes even more challenging to. But I think it's funny that the whole "what do I call you?" That's always been an interesting dynamic. I think I got to the point where I was like, it doesn't matter, you know, just yell at me or throw something at me. I'll answer.
I'll respond.
That's right.
Well, even our it's funny because even our biological children together, they will call me Vanessa and Scott when they really want something. And if like we're not listening, they're like, Vanessa, Scott. And we're like, hey, we're mom and dad. So
That's
Let's
so
get the
funny.
names right here.
Yeah, that's funny.
That is.
Well, how has your relationship with your ex-spouse impacted your son in co-parenting?
So I had a sort of an outside experience when I was growing up. My best friend, her parents never married, and they had a very painful relationship. And so she was always witness to that, and we were together like every day. So I was witness to that too. And I knew right away, if this isn't going to work out with me and you, I do not want to put a baby through that, or at any age. Like, I never wanted him to feel like he was the reason we didn't work out or whatever. I didn't ever want there to be a blame game. And I definitely I didn't want to be talked badly about in front of my son. So I definitely was not going to talk bad about his dad in front of him. And so I went into it early on when we started the separation, and I said, I will never keep him from you. You can see him anytime you want. We're really kind of flexible with weekends. If we don't have something going on, for sure, he can spend the night at your house, whatever it is. And so I right away was like, I'm not ever going to keep him from you. He will never be a piece of this fight. You know what I mean? I want you to be involved in his life as much as you can. And so we kind of laid that groundwork right away, where just because we're not working out doesn't mean that we can't co-parent this the best way that we can. There's no reason that I have to hate you or show my son that I hate. You know what I mean? It's just hurtful. And I don't really have that personality to be mean to people anyway. So I just tried to be as easy as possible as I could. And Joe kind of has that same personality. It's not we're not vengeful. We don't, you know what I mean? We never tried to like outdo him or anything like that. And so that made their relationship really good. And another thing was, I mean, because Mason was so young, I wasn't just going to be like, when we started dating other people, it wasn't going to be like, I'm just bringing anybody through here.
Right.
And so there was a long period of time where we were dating where really like our families didn't even know, and he wasn't around Mason all the time until it was serious. And so that was one thing that we just kind of had that same respect. Like I said, I kind of laid that groundwork and said, this is what I'm going to do, and I hope that you'll respect that and do the same thing. And now we have a pretty good relationship with them. He's he also has his own kind of other family, quote unquote. And we get along great with them. We see him at sporting events, and we trade off. There's no like, I'll wait in the car, come see you. You know what I mean? We talk to each other. Hey, how's it going? And I think it's just so much better for your child. And I don't feel, when you carry anger for somebody, it just really weighs you down. And I didn't want that either. So I feel no pain, I guess, when I think about him. Like it's just.
Did you see, as Mason grew up, did you see more healthy behaviors because you made those choices?
I think so. There's still some things that obviously part of why that relationship didn't work out is we were just completely different lifestyle people. And so there are definitely things where there's a little bit of corrective behavior, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think I really like that, you know? So there's definitely things that we work on with him, but I think it was never like, I mean, he misses his dad sometimes when he's not there. He's with us a lot more.
Yeah. Sure.
But it was never like, gosh, I wish I could see my dad. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's definitely no animosity. I don't think he's ever felt like, he just never really had to question that we loved him and we were keeping him from him or anything like that.
Yeah.
Well, what I love about the story, and I know people who are watching or listening, a lot of people, especially when they first start to separate, and you hope not continually, but definitely when they don't consciously make that decision, like, I'm not going to feel this pain or this hate. And so the logical outlet becomes the children.
Yeah.
That's where you can inflict, or where you feel like you can inflict the most pain to your ex-spouse.
Control.
Is let me instigate fear, control, and I will make it harder for them. And the fact that you looked at this very early on, made those decisions, it does have a dramatic impact on the child's life.
I think so.
It really does. And then, especially as they get into their upper teenage years, they start to understand and remember and look at what you did as a parent and start to understand why that's such a good thing for them.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and Mandi, Joe, for someone that's listening, what that maybe is in that season, kind of like where you guys were when you first started to blend, and they're dealing with that, trying to co-parent and, seeing the child, whether that's on a regular schedule or just trying to make it easy. Like, what practical advice would you give?
That's a good question. I would just say, you mentioned a lot of grace, having grace earlier. I think that's huge. I think you just really have to, know that it's not going to be perfect. You're not going to be good at that all the time. And I think just being able to kind of take a step away and say, okay, like, I put my kid to bed tonight and he was crying. What could I have done differently? Or what, how can I do this differently next time? And I think that's one thing that, like you mentioned, I made that decision really early on. I struggled a lot with not being with my son's dad. You know what I mean? I grew up in a home that, like, divorce just wasn't really an option. And so I felt like I was just totally, like, I was gonna get, like, dropped off. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, well, this is all wrong. How do I go through this and make it as smooth and just easy and comfortable, I guess, as possible? And so I think you just have to have grace with yourself and be able to look back and say, I did these things really well, I'm going to keep doing that. Or, you know what, I kind of went off the handle today. Tomorrow I'm going to try to back up a little bit. And
Yeah, that's the great thing about parenting is you can kind of, like, sit in, at the end of the day, you're going, I should have done that different. I think I will tomorrow. And generally, it'll be fine.
Well, and I love, when you were talking about grace, and God's grace is sufficient. I mean, it is supernatural, and that is what will carry us and get us through those seasons, those difficult seasons. So it's good.
Well, and blending is always challenging, and is always so having grace is absolutely paramount. So, well, Joe, as a step parent, obviously, there's been challenges along the way, and I know that being a step parent, you face those every day. But what are some of the biggest ones that you faced? How did you implement, and what did you implement that made that successful?
Well, to the last question, being cordial to Jason is big. Like for Mason to see us, like. Yes. To get along and not like just see each other and stare each other down and puff out our chests. But then, what was the question? I lost it already.
Well, let's talk about that specifically, because I think that's something that again is overlooked. And even I think when you become a step parent, there's a couple of things that happen. Number one is you've attached yourself to the mother, and you've attached yourself to protecting her. So you've attached to her to protect her. And you know the stories of past. And one of the hardest things to do is to not judge the ex-husband based on what happened before. So if you're going to give grace, you need to be right there along with her. But then the second part of that, and I 100% agree with the way that transition happens, is if you're cordial, respectful, you can co-parent. I think from a biological dad, when they look at a stepdad, they're asking questions. They're scared.
Yeah.
Hey, is this man going to be good to my son? Is this man going to protect my son? Because that's what we want as parents. We want protection. We want good upbringing. But in order to not make that awkward, it's almost like you have to face it forward. Just look at it and go, I remember when I first became a step parent, I made a phone call and said, listen, I don't know everything, but I want to work with you, and I want to do the best we can do.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
And from there, it was like the diffuser.
Yeah.
And ever since then, kind of like you said, we face each other, we're cordial to each other, and it seems to work.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So kind of walk through that process for you. What did that look like for you?
At first, it was a little difficult, like
Yeah.
you said about protecting and just. At first, I wanted to like puff out my chest and say, "Wow," but but no. Then we started talking at baseball games and soccer games and just having casual interactions and just getting to know each other, like getting to know each other better, and so he can see my personality, I can see his personality, and that way we could co-parent together and just be the best parents that we can for Mason.
Yeah.
That's good. And was he very accepting of you? Like once y'all started to build like that relationship and commonality and trust, I mean.
Yeah, he's pretty easygoing as it is. So it's
Yeah.
it wasn't very difficult.
Yeah.
Good.
No, I 100%. Well, what encouragement, advice would you give to our blended family community?
I think just keep going. Okay, whatever you're doing, I love that you guys are bringing so many resources. I think this is such a good resource. I don't know that we knew that it was an option to seek something like this out when we were starting out. It would have been amazing to have somebody there kind of backing us up. And we had a great family support, but I think just keep trying. You're, like we talked about with the grace earlier, like it's just every piece of parenting is a learning curve. And parenting with 4 parents is even harder. You know what I mean? And there will even be times where the other set of parents will call me and be like, hey, what are we doing about this? We noticed this, or same thing, vice versa. And it's like, you gotta just keep trying and keep your babies in the front of your mind. Like that's what this is about. We want to train them up to be the best people that they can be if they're ever. We of course never want them to be blended, right? Nobody goes into marriage and having children thinking, can't wait to be a blended family. But when you come out of the other side of it, it's just so worth it to be like, I think I'm proud of how I handled all the things that we went through.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, and I know a lot of people who watch, us, and generally they're in fires.
Right. Yes.
It's really, and we've been married for 8 years, you guys 7 years. And generally in the blended family, it's about that 3-year mark that it starts getting really challenging. And then it kind of, people start to figure things out. So a lot of people are watching are in fires. And I love the tenacity of just keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going.
The seasons will change.
It will.
Relationships can be mended. God can heal anything. And there's no limit to that.
That's right. Yeah.
Joe, what would you say? What encouragement would you give?
It's just patience.
Yeah.
Be patient with your stepchild. It's kind of hard parenting them because they see you different, and so they always think that how you're parenting them is going to be different from how you're parenting your biological children. So even though it's the same, they just think But just be patient with them, and play with them. I mean, spend time with them. That's a big thing. Get to know them. If you've known them for a short amount of time or a long amount of time, you still need to get to know your kid because that's just the way you build a relationship.
I'm reminded of a story that you just said, hey, your stepchildren will look at the way you treat your biological children and they'll wonder, why is that different? I remember at one point, I think Michael was like 14, and he said something, he asked me something about my 4-year-old at the time. He goes, why does he get to do that? I go, because he's 4? You're 14 and there's a difference? But in his brain, it was like, no, you're doing something different here. And I'm like, no, just he's 10 years younger. So we're not going to quite react the same as you. but I think it's absolutely imperative. I love that advice.
Yes. Well, you guys, last question, and we ask this to everyone, but what is a blended kingdom family to you guys?
Well, I think it's a family that love comes in from all the directions. You know, it's we're all pouring out, we're all pouring in. We've been really trying lately to build our kids' mindset as we're a team. God put us all together for a reason. Not you shouldn't be out to get your sister or your brother or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's exactly that, love pouring in from all the directions and just being able to receive that too. We have Mason is our most sensitive child and emotional right now, the preteen age. And so he has a really hard time accepting that his brother and sister love him and they want to be exactly like him. And so, yeah, I think it's just accepting everybody how we are and being together. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yep.
Love it. Well, guys, thank y'all so much for joining in with us. We are so blessed to know Joe and Mandy and their story. We hope it has blessed you. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Be blessed in all that you do today, guys.
Hey, BKF community, we want to hear from you guys. If you would take the time to leave us a review, and you can find us on all social media platforms. Our podcast is on every podcast platform, and you can visit us at our website at www.blendedkingdomfamilies.com.
Yeah, guys, we're trying to reach every blended family all over the world, and we can't do this without your partnership. So please take a minute, share, comment, review, tell your friends. Tell them they can all go to blendedkingdomfamilies.com for great resources.